delete, undo, and redo. Let's go ahead and create some geometry. I'll go ahead and select line. I'll create a few lines. This will be a common task that you'll have to do in many of your sketches. Create some geometry. But another thing that will happen quite frequently is you'll need to delete things. Or maybe you want to undo a few of these lines that we placed because it's looking a little chaotic. We can always go ahead and click undo, and it will undo a few of those lines we've been creating. I can also go ahead and select a line and hit delete to get rid of them as well. I can select a few lines by holding down Control or any of the other selection techniques that we've been learning. I can go ahead and delete those. Also, you may realize that, oh no, you actually need to keep those lines there. So we can again undo it, and then you realize actually we didn't want them again in the first place. Well, now you might not remember which ones we had deleted. Well, we can always go to edit and we can redo, which would take us back and redo the last actions we did. So again, let's go ahead and create a circle, create a circle, create a circle. Now I'm going to go ahead and highlight those, delete them. I can undo that, and then I can go ahead and redo the last action that I did. So remember, you can go backwards and forwards in time. Now if you want to undo the last few commands, I can go ahead and pull down this menu here, and I can highlight a few of these, and it will undo the last few actions that we did. As you can see, I have 41 actions here. So let's stop maybe around this point here, and we'll undo all those commands. And it leaves me with the first 4 that I created. I can always exit this sketch out. And once I do so, I can come over here to the feature manager and I can delete the sketch from there as well. Mirror and pattern. Let's take a look at what the mirror and pattern commands have to offer. I already have an active sketch open, so I'm going to go ahead and create a circle. I'll place one like so, and then I'll create a line, something to mirror the circle across. I'll go ahead and accept that. Make sure to exit out the line. I'll go ahead and activate the mirror entities. The first thing I have to do is to select which object to mirror. I'll go ahead and select this circle here. As you can see, it's now placed there. I have the option to copy it or not, and I'll go ahead and specify what I'm going to mirror about, which would be this line here. Again, I can leave copy on or off. Typically I'll want to copy it, so I'll go ahead and accept that option, and I mirrored the circle across this line. Let's go ahead and create one more line. I'll go ahead and accept that, and I will mirror the circle one more time. So I choose the circle to mirror, and then I place the line. Also notice right now I still had the line highlighted, so I have to come in here and delete the line in case you may pick up some extra objects that you don't want to actually mirror. Now I need to choose what I want to mirror about. I'll select the line, and again it's mirrored down across the line. I'll go ahead and accept that. Also notice that if I was to actually stretch out this circle, each of the circles is mirroring it, so all of them will adjust the size like so. This object is mirrored to this one, and this one's mirrored down to this one. You can see these relations here. If I hover over them, the 4, the 4, and the 4 are all connected. If I hover over the 6, they're all joined again. So anytime I make any adjustments to this circle, it's going to be reflected to this one and then reflected back again. I'll go ahead and delete all these objects here. Make a crossing window to make sure I pick up everything else that's left over. Again, I'll go ahead and create a circle, place it down, I'll accept it, and then I'm going to go ahead and activate the linear sketch pattern. Once I do so, since I already have the circle highlighted, it's automatically placed as my entity to pattern down here. You can also add more entities if you need so. First, in our direction 1, we have the x-axis, so it's left and right here. We can reverse the direction that the pattern is going to be placed. This next option here is to increase the distance. Let me go ahead and place it on the right side and pan down just a little bit. I can also increase the number of entities, and I can adjust the angle as needed as well. I also have the y-axis. Right now I only have one. That's why I have one row across. I can go ahead and increase that number, and as I do so, I can adjust the spacing. Again, I can change the angle which they're placed. And then if I go down a little bit further, I also have this option here, instances to skip. I can go ahead and select these arrows here to expand that. And all I have to do is select that box, and then you notice all these circles that I've patterned have become yellow. And all I have to do next is select a few of those circles, and the pattern will avoid those for their patterning. I'll go ahead and accept that, and now I only have these three objects that I patterned. I can select it off. I'll go ahead and highlight all of it and delete it. Yes, I want to delete everything there. Again, I'll create another circle. I'll go ahead and accept that, and I will place a point. Because the next thing we're going to do, I'll accept that, is do another pattern, but this time in a circular. I'll go ahead and zoom out just a little bit. Currently, I am patterning a point, which I don't actually want to do that, so I will go ahead and select this circle here instead. I will delete the point. So now you notice I need to specify the point which I am revolving my pattern around. So again, let's just start that again to make sure I have nothing highlighted. The first thing you'll typically want to do is say you want to activate your pattern, specify what you're going to be revolving around, and the entity that you're going to pattern, which would be this one here. I'll go ahead and pan it over a bit. The options are pretty similar to the linear pattern that we've been using. I can go ahead and make adjustments to X and Y. Here the angle needs to be between 360 and negative 360. So I can adjust this here like so. For example, let's go ahead and type in 90. So it only does a 90 degrees part of the circle. You can adjust the spacing as well, the diameter, radius, and the angle. I can increase the number of items. I'll go ahead and put this back to 360. So you can see my items fan all the way around, as well as adjusting the radius and some more angle options here. As you click around, I can go ahead and accept that. And just like before, if I needed to, I could pick some of these entities to skip in the pattern as well. Even though you have the mirror and these pattern options available for your sketches, typically you'll want to make your sketch as simple as possible and try and add the mirror or the patterns into your features, which we'll get into a little bit more later. Move entities. The move, rotate, copy, and scale sketch tools operate on selections within a sketch. You can use these tools with pre or post selection methods. These tools can delete existing sketch relations when necessary to accomplish the task. Here I have a few simple shapes. I have a rectangle here that's blue, and one over here that's black. So this one's fully defined and this one's not completely defined just yet. So let's see how the move entities affects these various objects. I'll go ahead and make sure I have move entities selected. On the left hand side, our first option here is to select the entities to move. Also notice there's a checkbox here that says keep relations. I'll go ahead and keep that selected for now. I'll highlight this rectangle here, and then I'm going to choose a parameter from how to move it. I'll choose a starting point. I'll select that box. I'll place a point down, and now you notice I can move my rectangle around. I'll go ahead and just shift it up a bit there. Let's do the copy entities command now. You get the same process again. The same dialog box on the left hand side is very similar to the move entities. I'll go ahead and select the entities. I'll specify a location. I'll keep choosing the bottom left corner, and I'll go ahead and copy that rectangle there. Let's continue on with rotate entities. I will select this first rectangle here. I will specify the center of the rotation here, and now all I have to do is hold down the mouse. I can go ahead and rotate the rectangle. I'll place it there, and I'll accept. Now notice, even though I had the keep relations box checked, we'll go ahead and just activate that one more time. Rotate entities. You see I have keep relations. But as I went ahead and rotated that rectangle, it got rid of all the relations. Because if you're going to rotate it, it can't keep these vertical and horizontal relations. So you have to make sure when using these commands that you keep the relations that you do want. So maybe you'll want to add some new ones that they are perpendicular or parallel, just to keep the rectangle intact the way you want it to be. Also notice, we'll go ahead and use the scale entities. We don't have the keep relations checkbox. If I go to stretch entities, I also don't have the keep relations checkbox, because both of these really won't keep the relations that you do have. So let's go ahead and use the scale entities, since that's next in line. First thing to do is to select the entities to scale. I'll go ahead and select these ones here. I'll pick a point which to scale about. And now notice I can increase it or decrease the scale. So this would be about half the size that we started with, and 1.5 would increase it by 50%. I'll go ahead and just maybe leave it at 1.2. I can also go ahead and check that box there, and it gives me a yellow outline where it'll copy the sketch. I'll go ahead and accept that, and now I have two rectangles. Now let's go ahead and try and do move entities. I can go ahead and select this line. I'll choose a starting point. I can pick any arbitrary point that I wish, so maybe here. And now I can go ahead and move this line anywhere that I want. I'll place it there. Now let's try one more time. I'll move entities. I'll select this black sketch here. Select the starting point. I'll specify a point here, and I can move it over there. Now, even though it was fully defined, it went ahead and deleted that relation where it was locked into place there. So make sure when you're using the move entities or any of the sub options to rotate, copy, scale, and so forth, that these operations may result in a completely undefined sketch, and SolidWorks will not warn you that the relations are being deleted. Offset entities. Let's go ahead and learn how to offset some of these lines. So instead of actually creating a second line on the right side or left side of this line, we can go ahead and offset it a little bit of a distance. I'll go ahead and select offset here. Right now I'll make sure only the add dimensions is checked. I'll accept the value of 0.25 inches, and I'll go ahead and select this line. Notice it was offset towards the left. I can change that with bidirectional, and I can also reverse it right or left. For now, I'll keep it on this side here. I'll go ahead and accept it. I can also offset some of the lines from this rectangle here. I'll go ahead and select offset entities again. I'll select this one line. Now if I did bidirectional, it offsets on both sides like you previously saw. Now once I choose bidirectional, I get this end caps here option. If I take it off, I no longer have that option. But we'll explore that with this line down here. Now for example, I have this rectangle here, but maybe I want to have a border that goes around it completely, not just this one line. I don't want to have to go to offset entities, click offset entities, click offset entities, and click for each of these edges here. So we can go ahead and use select chain. That will continue it to each of these objects and go all the way around. If I choose bidirectional, it will place the line inside and outside. I can also choose make base construction. I'll go ahead and accept this, and notice the middle line now became a construction line. So now I have a solid rectangle. Now let's go ahead and offset entities one more time. I'll select this line here. Now because I have bidirectional selected, I have the end caps. If I check this, it will cap the lines as an arc or as lines. I'll go ahead and select this as an arc for now. Selection techniques. Let's learn some quick techniques for selecting objects that you may want to manipulate. For starters, we know how to go ahead and select objects by simply clicking on them. We know how to hold down Control to add to a selection. I'll go ahead and hit Escape to deselect those items. But maybe sometimes we want to select everything. Well, I can go ahead and click on the top left corner and drag towards the bottom right, and I create a window selection. Notice the edge of the square that I'm creating is a solid line. I can go ahead and finish that and select everything. I'll go ahead and hit escape. Now if I go from the opposite direction, I'll go ahead and start from the top right corner, drag down towards the bottom left. Now notice that the edge of the selection that I'm making is a dashed line. If I let go, it does the same thing as I did before. But there actually is a difference between this. If I go ahead and start from here and I stop in this space area here, in this blue window selection, and I let go, I only selected these two lines. If I start from the opposite corner here and I drag the opposite direction, I get a green window, a green crossing window. I let go, and now I have these lines as well as this circle added instead of the 2 points. Now the difference is when I drag from the left to the right, I am creating a window selection. So I'll only be selecting things that are inside the window. If I drag from the right to the left, anything that is in the window as well as crossing the boundary of the selection will be selected. As you can see, again, I got the circle and these two lines from this rectangle. I'll go ahead and hit escape. But maybe I want to go ahead and select all these points. I can hold control and continue selecting all the points. But that maybe takes a little bit too long. I'll go ahead and hit escape. One useful technique you can do is we can go and right click on this command manager here and look for a selection filter. I'll go ahead and check that. And now we get this new toolbar right here. Remember, you can go ahead and undock this as necessary if you want to place it somewhere else. I'll leave it docked at the bottom for now. Now all these different items here are different filters of things you can select, and a lot of them resemble what they actually are that you will be selecting. For now, I'm going to go ahead and do this filter selection points, and this allows selection of sketch points only. So if I go ahead and select that, I can quickly make a window and I only grab the points and avoid all the other objects. Learning how to use these quick selection techniques will really increase your efficiency when you're trying to manipulate the geometry that you created.
Trim and extend. Trim is actually several functions rolled into one, and it is an extremely powerful tool for editing sketches. Trim entities allows several methods for trimming as well as extending and deleting sketch entities. You can find trim right here. We have trim entities as well as extend entities. Right now we're going to begin with trim. You have several options to choose for trimming. As you select your options, you also know that there's a message to give you some information about it. For now, let's go ahead and select trim to closest. As I select the object, it's going to trim it off to the nearest closest object next to it. I can choose an arc between here, there, or even here. Let's go ahead and choose a corner method here, and we'll find a corner to trim. We can pick these corners here. So if I select this line and this other line here that's intersecting it, notice it gives you a orange preview. If I select it, it trims off the corner. I can trim these lines here. Notice it does something a little bit different. This way I trimmed off the outside. This way I trimmed out the inside over here. I'll go ahead and undo that. So the order of lines that you pick, this one and then this one, will dictate how you're actually trimming it. I'll go ahead and activate the corner trimming again just so you can see. And there we trimmed it. Let's trim away the inside. I'll go ahead and select two lines. And now anything on the inside is going to get trimmed. Notice if I click anywhere out here, it also trims away the inside, as well as if I click the middle. We can trim away the outside. I still have these two lines selected, and if I select the line here, here, or even over here, it trims away the outside for me. Now the next one is a power trim. This one, you go ahead and you draw a line. And as you draw your line through, anything that it crosses, it's going to trim. So we can trim through like a little snake, going through each piece and trimming them as necessary. Now another useful trick, if you read over here, To extend the entities, you can also hold down the shift key. So if I cut through this, normally I'm going to cut it. But if I hold shift this time, drag through, I'll go ahead and extend it. Let me go ahead and look at extend entities now. This is very similar to what we just did. As you can see, if I hover over a line, it's going to extend it to the next entity. Now notice with these lines here, if I'm on the left side, it's going to extend towards the left. If I'm more towards the right side, it's going to extend towards the right. You can also extend splines over here and over here. So we can extend a few more. And maybe extend this line all the way out as well. Learning to use the extend and trim is very useful when creating your geometry. This may be more useful instead of creating new lines to extend something or to delete something. We can go ahead and trim it off instead.